The story of computer starts a long time ago. In the 1800s with a man named Charles Babbage. He came up with a plan something called the analytical engine, which was like the very early version of a computer. Even though he never actually finished it while he was alive. His ideas were really important and set the foundation for the computers we have today. So you could say he planted the seed for the modern computers way back then. Now let's go to 1900s. At the time people used punch cards to store and handle information. These were cards with holes punched in them to represent data or instruction. In the 1990s, Armand Alloruth made a machine that used the punch cards to help with the United States Census. Then in 1920s, IBM made a type of punch card that could hold a lot of information about 80 characters worth. Early computers used this card to do complicated maths really quickly and accurately. They would feed the cards into a special machine called a card reader and the computer would follow the instruction on the cards. So punch cards were likely the first step towards modern data storage and processing. At the same time, electronic computers became a thing and they introduced a brand new way to remember stuff called the vacuum tubes. In the 1940s, the William Kilburn tube, which was used in the machine like the Manchester small-scale experimental machine. These vacuum tubes were super important because they could store and mess around with the information using electricity. This made computers faster and able to do more stuff. As computers got better, people needed ways to store information more efficiently. That is when magnetic memory came into play. In the 1950s, they came up with something called magnetic drum memory, which was like a big spinning drum covered in a special magnetic material. It was the key part of early computer like the IBM 350 disk storage unit. These drums could hold a lot of information, usually around 4 to 5 megabits, all packed into a small space. At the same time, another type of memory called magnetic core memory became really important in the 1950s and 1960s. In magnetic drum memory, information was saved in circle on the surface of spinning drum. When the drum turned, special force called read-write heads above it point the right circle to read or change data. Likewise, in the magnetic core memory, information was stored by making tiny magnets in the cores either strong or weak. To read, you checked if the magnets were strong or weak, and to write, you made them stronger or weaker as required. In the 1950s and 1960s, they started using big machines like the IBM 729 magnetic tape unit. This machine had big reels of magnetic tapes that could store a lot of information like several megabytes on each reel. But magnetic tape was not just for big computers. In homes, cassette tape became really popular for reading and playing music. Magnetic tapes works by saving information as magnetic patterns on a long strip of tape. Special parts called magnetic gates read and write the data by moving across the tape. Imagine you have a cassette player and a computer. You put a cassette tape with the data into a player and connect it into a computer. When you want to get the data from the tape into the computer tells that player to start playing the tape. As the tape plays, a special force in the computer reads the magnetic patterns on the tape, gets the data. Once the data is in your computer, you can use it or run programs. When you want to save something onto the cassette tape, the computer tells the player to start recording. The special parts in the computer then writes the data onto the tape as magnetic patterns. After saving, you can rewind the tape and take it out, use it again later. In the late 1960s, IBM introduced floppy disks, which were small and portable storage devices that have become really popular for personal computers. At first, they were big, about 8 inches wide, and could hold around 80 kilobytes of data, just enough for small programs and files. But then they got smaller, like the 5.25 inches, later 3.5 inches floppy disk, which could hold more from 360 kilobytes to 1.44 megabytes. People liked floppy disks because they was easy to use and flexible, and they were the main way people transformed and stored data on early personal computers. In the 1980s, something called cd-Roms changed how we store data. They were developed by Sony and Philips and could hold a lot of more than the floppy disk up to 650 megabytes. Hard disks have been around since the 1950s and important for storing data. The first one, IBM 350 disk storage unit, could hold about 4 to 5 megabytes. They work by using spinning disks or special parts that read and write data. Over time, SSDs got bigger, reaching several gigabytes by the 1980s and 1990s. They are great for storing lots of data in big computers and servers because they are fast, can transfer data quickly. SSDs are the newer type of storage, are better than SSDs in many ways. They were introduced in the 1990s but were expensive and didn't hold much data at first. However, as technology improved, they got bigger, cheaper. SSDs use special memory cells instead of spinning disks, which means they faster, use less power, and last longer. Overall storage technology has come along a way. From punch cards to SSDs and cloud storage, it keeps getting better and changing the way we store and use data in a digital world.